months. That's insanely fast for the car industry, where developing even the simplest vehicle usually takes years.
The rear design is pretty nice to look at as well, with this black piece here that kind of adds a little bit of width to the look. If I open up the rear hatch here, you will see that it is not a full-size rear door, which is a little bit disappointing in terms of accessibility and storage. Speaking of storage, it is at a premium here in the back, which I guess you can't expect much from a car this small. I brought this cardboard box just to give you an idea. If I place it here, it just barely fits. Now that we're inside the Mini EV, I can tell you that there are absolutely no frills in here. Now, the only screen, for example, is the small one here in front of the driver that acts as an instrument cluster. There are some nice little splashes of color, for example, here around the center controls, as well as the blue around the shift knob and several other places. But it's when you start touching things that you remember why it is this car tops out at less than $5,500. Plastic quality, particularly here on the door, as well as the flat, expansive dashboard, is somewhere between an economy car and a public bathroom.
Features and creature comforts are about in line with what you would expect. In addition to the screen that serves as the instrument cluster, you also get a rudimentary display for your sound system that would look more at home in a car from the mid-1980s. Seat adjustment is manual, but you get power windows. Those used to be optional on cars that cost way more than this. My, how the times have changed.
The back seats are about as cramped as you would expect. Now, the design of the seats is also very, very basic, much like the fronts, and they're not particularly comfortable. I can't imagine grown adults being happy back here for more than 15 minutes at a time or so. Of course, if you wanted to go grocery shopping, you would need to fold these seats down anyways.
The Mini EV is powered by a single rear-mounted electric motor, putting out just 17.5 horsepower and 85 Nm of torque through a single-speed transmission. This monster of a motor gets its juice from either a 9.3 or 13.5 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, delivering 120 and 170 kilometers of range respectively. There will be no fast charging for this little guy, so it will take you anywhere from 6.5 to 9 hours to charge your Mini EV on a normal 240-volt outlet. Interestingly, the Mini EV comes equipped with an energy recovery system, which I absolutely did not expect. As a result, one-pedal driving is both possible and easy.
Physics being what it is, even at a bonkers 665 kilograms, the Mini EV is not quick. I wouldn't even necessarily describe it as spirited. Acceleration over 20 kilometers an hour or so is very, very mild. Wuling does not provide an official 0 to 100 kilometer per hour time, and I think that's for two reasons. The first is that the official top speed of this car is 100 kilometers per hour. The other is that I don't think there are very many people who are brave enough to actually drive it that fast. I say this because the Wuling Mini EV, much like the Hongguang Plus from Wuling that we drove earlier this year, has a conspicuous lack of safety equipment. I'm not referring to equipment that is now standard fare across the industry, like lane keep assist or blind spot monitoring. No, I mean that apart from ABS and seatbelts, this thing has almost no safety equipment at all. That means no airbags, no electronic stability programming, nothing. There's not even a passenger seatbelt reminder. There's only one for the driver. The faster you drive this thing, the more you remember that it is essentially a cute steel can. You just have to hope that the unibody will protect you in the event of a crash. I promise I do have some good things to say about this car, but let's get more of the bad things out of the way first. The air conditioning is the weakest that I've experienced in a modern car, ever. I can put it on full crank and it only seems to push out lukewarm air. The seats are also some of the most uncomfortable that I have ever sat in. They are a rock-hard foam material, and while I'm sure it wears well, they're very difficult to adjust into any kind of comfortable position. You also don't really sit in the car so much as on top of it. The dashboard is pretty easy to read, I guess, but everything else is very, very rudimentary. There isn't even a park. You get reverse, neutral, and drive. I didn't know that was even possible. Your park is the handbrake. That's it. The suspension on the Wuling is pretty simple. It's McPherson struts up front, multi-link in the rear,